Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I'm here with another design team project for Birch Press Designs. And for today's project, I'm going to be using the Dahlia Mini Frame layering die set. Now I've used this die set before, but this is just going to be a traditional way, so to speak, to use the die set. So for this layering set, it does have 3 separate dies, and they can be purchased separately. I've chosen 3 colors of cardstock from my stash in a peach coral color, going of course from light to dark. I'm just going to cut my cardstock to the approximate size of the die and then run those through my die cutting machine. One of the things that I do really like about these dies, I never have an issue of the pieces not being die cut. Sometimes certain sections won't die cut. These I just have never had an issue. The pieces literally just come out of the dies, or excuse me, out of the die cut pieces. You can see I'm just using my fingers after pulling them away from the die, and I'm just popping out those centers with no work at all. I'm just testing out what the 3 layers are going to look like, and here's where I'm also saying, okay, do I want to change this up? Do I want to layer these differently? Am I going to make this into a shaker card? So I'm actually thinking, how are these going to look, or how do I want to put these together? So I've just decided to glue each of the layers together on top of each other, straight on. So no acetate, no vellum, no special effects for each of these layers when I glue them together. When adding my liquid adhesive, and that is my adhesive of choice when putting these layering die cuts together, I pick certain areas. Sometimes, depending upon what the die is, I'll use liquid adhesive everywhere. But for this one, I'm just actually choosing the external points. So you'll see I'll definitely go around the frame, but then when it comes to the flower itself, I'm looking at the points that are coming out. For me, this does a couple things. One, the areas with a point are going to be adhered down, which will then take care of the other pieces to be flat against or flush against the other piece as well. Sometimes you don't have to put glue absolutely everywhere when you're using an intricate die such as that. So I've grabbed my card base, and what I've done is I've also grabbed another piece of cardstock that's cut 4 by 5 1/4, and I've used an embossing folder just to give it a little bit of texture behind this image. I'm using one of my makeup brushes to apply bundled sage oxide to the background, and I'm trying to keep it very specific within the die cut frame. If it goes out a little bit, I'm okay with that. But I want the focal point to actually, or the focal amount of the oxide that I'm putting down to be coming right from the flower itself. So you may see a little bit, but your eye is going to be drawn inside that frame. I'm going to clean off my surface so that I don't get bundled sage everywhere else, which we all know that's what I will do. So just cleaning everything off. I'm cleaning off my makeup brush, and I usually just use a damp baby wipe, and then I'll brush it along either another towel or on my hand just to help dry that. So I'm going to glue this panel down onto my embossed design sheet, and then I will use an acrylic block just to have a little bit of pressure on that, because there is a lot of texture going on that piece of cardstock. I'm going to grab the dark color that I used for my dies, and I'm going to use that for my sentiment. My sentiment's going to come from the Lingo Thanks Clear Stamp Set from Birch Press Designs, and I'm using this phrase, thinking of you. I'm going to use my Versamark ink, that's a sticky ink, and my white Brutus Monroe Alabaster White Fine Detail Embossing Powder, and I will heat set that. Once I know that's cooled, I'll use my microfiber cloth just to brush away any of the excess powder. And I'm going to use my trimmer here just to trim down my sentiment so that I can get a skinny banner for that sentiment. I'm going to use my scissors to trim on each side of that and just have that block for the sentiment. Once I have that trimmed down, I'm going to use my double-sided foam squares, and I'm going to cut small pieces for each end of this sentiment so that it'll actually straddle over the die-cut frame. Depending upon the size or the weight of the cardstock that you use, layering either 3 or 4 layers can give you great dimension, almost to a chipboard thickness. So you do want to make sure that your foam squares, when you're propping your sentiment across it, are equal in that height. That's going to go to the end of the design panel. So now I'm going to add lots of crystals. Let's just say it that way. I'm going to use my Sparkling Crystals by Studio Katya, and these are clear, and I'm just going to put them all throughout this flower. So I'm going to go around the center and then the outer points of the other layers, and I'll be using the different sizes, and then finally I'll use the larger size stone directly for the center. Again, just to add some shimmer, sparkle. Now, if you don't have gems, by all means, you could use a sparkle pen or a shimmer pen if you just want to add just a little bit of glitz to your image. I'm going to gather up the remaining gems and put them away in their container. And that is what that will look like. I'm going to use a standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to adhere this panel down in the center. Now, this card is a top folding card, and I'm just going to make sure that I apply pressure around all areas so that that raised texture does adhere to the card base as well. So as always, here's a close-up of our project that we made today using the Dahlia Mini Frame set by Birch Press Designs. So I do hope you enjoyed it, and as always, all the products that I used will be linked down below. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today and just spending a little bit of time watching my video. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe, but make sure you ring that bell because you don't want to miss the next video. I hope everyone's having a great day. Take care, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative.